Today's video will be about DNA and how genetics shape our human physiology, because we have this, I can't even say rise, because there have been a lot of things happening throughout the years, but I believe it's more popular to do a DNA testing, and as a follow-up, usually these companies send you some kind of supplement, and more often than not, it seems that things are mistranslated, if that would be the right word, about what those tests actually mean, and can you actually fix everything with a pill. So would you mind breaking down what's the basics of genetics and, explaining DNA testing, and when is it useful, and when maybe you shouldn't be betting everything just on that?
Yeah. So I do have a slide, but it's just a visual. It's just a visual so that we can speak to. But essentially, what fundamentally people, and by people I mean centralized medicine, right? Centralized medicine, your homeopath, your functional medicine doctor, your normal medicine doctor, anybody and everybody are looking in the wrong place for solutions, right? And this is what I mean by that. This right here is a picture, and by now most people that have seen any of our material should know this is your mitochondria, okay? And it is inside every one of your cells. In fact, it's not just one, there are several hundred in most cells. So you can see, 3 mitochondria in here. That is key to understand, because most people, when you get any kind of a genetic test, unless it is an mtDNA, MT meaning mitochondrial DNA, because if you notice, there is DNA, that's what these little squigglies are here, in the mitochondria. And then there is DNA in here, inside this is the nuclear DNA. Almost everyone and almost every single drug in existence right now is attacking or trying to change or trying to fix a nuclear DNA issue. Here's the problem, okay? The problem is that nuclear DNA is like a filing cabinet where the instructions are. So like, for example, let's hypothetically say that we're constructing a building, right? Me and you are the designers, the architects, right? And we have our ideas, we know how it should be built and all the different ways that it can be built. And we have those in a filing cabinet. Those are the blueprints, right? But at the end of the day, as you start building, you're going to have to change the blueprints. Why? Because you'll find something in the ground that isn't there, that we couldn't see before. You'll find that the way that the sun hits it is not something that we wanted to do. The way that it looks might not quite line up with other buildings in the area. So the blueprints will change is the key point, right? So what does that mean? That means that these guys in here, the blueprints of how to make anything and everything changes by external factors, changes in the environment, right? The DNA inside of the mitochondria are sensing those. Why? Because the mitochondria create all of your energy, essentially. These guys right here, we've talked about the electron transport chain, which is inside of all these folded cells in here and stuff like that. They are creating all of the energy for almost every single function. If your environment changes, that means the energy production changes. If energy production changes, guess what? The instructions from here to here get changed. So in other words, this guy, the mitochondria, is the architect. It's the one sensing the environment, surveying the environment, and making the changes to the blueprints. Not the other way around. The blueprints don't change what the mitochondria does. The mitochondria changes what the nuclear blueprints do. When you understand that, then you can fundamentally understand what I'm going to tell you next, which is, and before we move on from that particular concept, because it is thick as far as like complexity, these are all diseases associated with mitochondrial issues, not just, and we know about this. This is from studies from from Doug Wallace. Okay. These are haplotypes. Haplotypes mean just like nuclear genes, there are different subsets of them. Well, here are all the different subsets of mitochondrial genes. Okay. And that they have found that some of these are correlated more strongly than others to things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, macular degeneration. All of these, every single one of these have some kind of mitochondrial DNA change or defect. Even these metabolic diseases. In fact, every single metabolic disease is a change of your mitochondria sensing an energy deficit or an energy crisis at the cellular level. That's why it changes the metabolism. It changes the metabolic function of how things work because of that. And then we have inflammatory and infectious diseases. Why? Because all of these are things that sense the environment, right? An immune system response or something like that is your body's sensing something foreign somewhere, right? Now, most of the time, that's supposed to be done by external influences. That is a key concept to understand. Your mitochondria is going to be changing these things on the fly, sensing your environment. Okay. It doesn't work the other way around. So when you get a test, a genetic test, right? You are essentially seeing a snapshot of what the blueprint looks like. There should be some follow-up. Go ahead, say it one more time.
I think that the part that they kind of miss out is this is how it looks like at the given time. That it doesn't mean
Correct.
it's gonna be like that forever. And this is one of the things why we have evolved so that we can live whatever the hell we want, really. You know, you go and live.
Very correct. Yes.
For a couple of years, you're gonna change completely. Then, like I moved to UK 10 years ago. Well, more than 10 years ago. My resistance to cold is nowhere near as good as when it was when I was in Baltic States. You know,
Right.
but it took me
exactly. Yeah.
that to happen, but it's happening. I can definitely feel it. I go back home, I feel colder than I used to do before.
Yeah, and those are environmental changes at the mitochondrial DNA that's then sending a change to the blueprints, the nuclear DNA, that then changes how your body functions. Okay, so now with that concept in mind, let's say you get a genetic test or a blood test or any kind of assessment from somebody, right? They basically go, oh, you're deficient in X, right? It doesn't really matter what, right? Like, let's just hypothetically think about ADHD, okay? ADHD. You don't have a deficit of Ritalin. You don't have a deficit of Adderall, right? But they give you Ritalin or Adderall, okay? So, and then they just go, here, just kind of take this forever, right? They do that with everything. Every single drug that you're ever going to be prescribed and every single supplement. Hey, take this. This is good for you because of this particular thing that we found in your blood workup or your genetic test workup or anything like that. And then there is no follow-up to the problem. In other words, you came to them for an issue, you took some tests, you found an issue, then you take a supplement and they may follow up while you're taking the supplement or while you're taking the medication and be like, see, we fixed it. We fixed it. Here's the thing, right? But the issue is they didn't fix it. They didn't fix it because they didn't change the genetic program to change your body back to how it used to be, right? Because at some point in time, you were totally fine, right? Like earlier in your years, you were totally fine. They didn't change the baseline problem. They just gave you a supplement or a medication that plugs the hole of, hey, look, we fixed it. Here's this thing. This is actually how it should work. So I'm going to give an example. I had a female client come to me and her testosterone value was basically zero. Her thyroid wasn't working. She was on thyroid medication. Now, So from some of our previous videos, the ones on thyroid, the ones on sex hormones, you can actually quickly see, oh, okay, if she has thyroid problems and taking a thyroid medication, that's going to affect metabolism. Metabolism isn't just fat burning. Metabolism is manufacturing of everything, right? So including sex hormones. So I had her do a follow-up and to see if her sex hormones were even functioning because she didn't have that panel. Comes back, zero testosterone, literally zero testosterone. And her DHEA was abysmal. It was like 60 and the cutoff is 57. It should be closer to 200. Okay. And then her cortisol was also very low. Why? Because DHEA gets turned into cortisol and sex hormones. Sex hormones are down, DHEA is down, cortisol. You're not going to build anything. You're not even going to release body fat because you can't even make cortisol to mobilize things. I'm like, this is a uphill battle. Okay. So in the moment, she's not going to be able to get in shape. Not very easily. She's going to be spinning her wheels and starving and not doing anything. So what do? Okay, you're going to take a little bit of DHEA, talk to your doctor. Let's bump up your thyroid medication and talk to your doctor. Let's get you on some testosterone replacement therapy, right? So she goes, okay, great. So she starts taking that, and then we do some follow-up blood work to make sure that she's taking the right amounts of those medications. Her blood work comes back pretty damn good. She's like, great, I'm fixed. Immediately, I saw that she didn't understand the fundamental concept. She's not fixed. We put a Band-Aid on it, literally. Okay. She's taking medications and they are causing the outcome. The medications are causing the outcome. Her body is not fixed. Okay. And that's exactly what she goes. She said, what do you mean I'm not fixed? The blood work shows that I'm fixed. I'm like, no. We're putting that stuff in you. That's not fixing you. That's just literally what the drug is going to do. And she's like, well, how do we fix it? I'm like, well, you got to fundamentally understand where these come from. They come from your mitochondrial sensing your environment. That means you're going to have to change your lifestyle. That means you're going to have to change how you do things and the environment that you involve yourself in. I happen to know what those environmental signals need to be, right? And so she's got a lifestyle protocol that she needs to follow. And she's like, well, this is going to be hard. I'm like, yeah, that's probably the reason why you're not making testosterone and you're not making DHEA is because the season that you live in, because she's really busy during the summer and is indoors all summer long. So she never gets any sun. And then in the winter, she's not busy, but there isn't any sun because she lives somewhere where there's snow. I'm like, they can't work this way. You have to revamp how you work during the summer months because those are the only months you're going to be able to actually send the right environmental signal to the mitochondria to redo the blueprints at the nuclear level to start making your own testosterone, your own DHEA, and your own stress handling capability again. And so the plan is from now, it's January right now, until April or May, she's going to take these medications so that we can move forward with her primary goal, which was, I want to get in shape, right? I want to lose, X pounds and get lean, except, all the normal stuff. I'm like, none of that's going to happen the way that your hormones are set up. So let's Band-Aid it right now and move forward, right? And then come April, what are we going to do? We're going to take away all of those. And immediately she freaks out and goes, well, they fixed me. How are you going to take those away? I'm like, I'm going to take them away because at that time of the year, you should be able to have 4 months under your belt where you started to change your lifestyle and started to change how you interact with the environment. And by that time, the sun is going to come back around and you're actually going to be able to construct through human photosynthetic efforts the key molecules that make up our genetics and how our body functions metabolically. I'm like, and then 2 or 3 months after that, so come July or August, we're going to retest this. And then we will actually see what parts of your body are completely broken. In other words, AKA you're going to have to be on some kind of replacement permanently, and which ones are totally fine. And now we know how you fix them because of the lifestyle things, because we're going to remove the supplement things. You never get a roadmap like that from any doctor. No doctor is ever going to give you a medication and be like, hey, at this other point in time, we're actually going to remove the medication and actually try to take you off of it and see if your body can start functioning normally because of these lifestyle changes that we had you do. No doctor is ever going to have a clue about what lifestyle changes are going to make the impact. The only thing they're going to tell you is eat healthier and exercise. That's not, and those are a minuscule input to the environmental soup that you're going to be exposed to, right? You only train for about what, an hour, 4 days a week. You only eat 3 or 4 times a day, right? Like, what's going on the rest of the 24-hour period? That's your environmental signaling to the brain, the eye, the skin. Those are what's sending signals to the mitochondria to change its inputs, the nucleus. Okay. Those are the things that we want to change so that we can understand, is your body actually broken, or is your lifestyle broken? 9 times out of 10, the lifestyle is what's broken, not the body.
So before you go much deeper on all that, just let me know if I get this right, so everyone else is on the same page. That DNA testing, as good as it sounds, as amazing and promising as it might be, is often overlooked in sense of that they don't zoom out and understand what is actually affecting that. And they might tell you, hey, your DNA says you can't be eating this or can't be doing that, but it's actually your environment that made your body more resilient or resistant to certain thing. And you should be trying and testing it, because let's be honest, most of the things that we kind of suffer from now, we have already discussed previously why they happen. You know, environment you live in, your daily habits, all the things that people kind of understand, but at the same time don't do it consciously. Because the easiest thing to understand, oh, you know what, I'm always tired, and then they go to Hawaii and they feel amazing. And you're like, it wasn't the trip that made you feel amazing. It was a great environment and sun and everything like that. And you could actually do that if you are more conscious about your daily habits. So am I getting it right?
Yeah. That's a very good way to say it. And that example that you gave, right? Like, people can go to good places and not change their lifestyle, right? You're going to be indoors all day long. You're going to be wearing electronic devices all over your head, and you will still have the same symptoms, even in a place that's technically better, right? That's how direct the environment is impacting you, right? And not just the environment, the environment you can't even sense, like, right? Like, if I permanently walk around with Bluetooth earbuds in my ear, I don't care where you live, that's going to be affecting your brain, even if you're in the middle of the sun or in the middle of the winter, right? When I say environmental inputs, I'm talking anything that gets put in your body. That includes medications and supplements, by the way, and anything that interacts with the body. And that changes the game of how you need to start looking at things. It is completely next level thinking, as far as the environment is everything that you expose yourself to. And those are the things that you need to kind of figure out. Like, for example, this female that came to me with really low thyroid, really low testosterone, and we looked at her DHEA, her baseline sex hormones, right? Not the ones that are actually testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone, but the ones that get turned into those, and the ones that turn into cholesterol. We went all the way up to the chain, and we go, hey, you're not even making this one very good. What is that tied to? It's tied to sunlight, right? You have to sulfate cholesterol in order to get this done. I'm like, so what are you actually fundamentally missing? You're missing sunlight. You're missing UVA and UVB light. Because then we go looked at her vitamin D, and she's taking vitamin D. She's taking 5,000 units of vitamin D. Her vitamin D is only 35. In American units, that's only 5 points from being deficient.
Yes.
I'm like,
I've
how
seen
is that possible? And again, yeah, I've seen it a lot. And the reason is because even when you take oral vitamin D, your liver has to process that oral vitamin D, because when you take it in a pill, that's not doing anything. It can't do anything until your liver processes it to turn it into 25 hydroxy vitamin D. So now you're relying on an internal thing to happen. When you make vitamin D from the sun on your skin, your liver doesn't have to do anything. The moment it gets sulfated at the skin, it's active and water soluble, and now it's 25 hydroxy. Two different animals, right? Two different things. So I'm like, yeah, but what that tells me is now your liver, and what is the other thing about your liver? Your liver has a lot of freaking mitochondria in it. Your liver has a crap ton of mitochondria. So when you tell me that you're taking vitamin D and your vitamin D level is still low, that tells me you have even bigger problems, because that tells me that your mitochondria in your liver don't even really understand what's going on. So you need more sun than anybody all over your torso. And that's fundamentally what I had to get her to understand. And we will see, right, how that goes. But she's not the first person, right? That I've had several people with almost this exact scenario.
Interesting,
And
because I see it more often and often. Specifically this thing that we just described. And probably timely is that we recorded that video about vitamin D lumps and everything as well. That's people can look up. Might be useful.
Yeah, it's a very common thing. And then you will start running into this with more and more supplements. They're like, oh, I take this supplement. Well, vitamin D is a very easy one to test. I take this supplement. It should be fixing me. And then you'll get blood work and it didn't fix you. And then the doctor goes, oh, I don't know. Let's just give you more. Now we'll go to the injection, right? We'll give you an injection of vitamin D with 5,000 units. And that one seems to work. Why? Because it bypasses the liver, right? Again, did that fix you? No, clearly not. You just bypassed the next thing that was wrong, right? You have to fundamentally understand that the inputs to your biology are controlled by sunlight, water, so water you drink, water you make, magnetism, electromagnetic fields, whether those are natural or not natural, and how your mitochondria are interpreting those signals, right? Fundamentally, I just described how every single living organism on the planet works through their mitochondria, sensing their environment, making the changes to their genetic genome. Because your genetic genome is not, the nuclear one, is not supposed to change very quickly. It is supposed to stay static until the mitochondria tell it to change. In other words, you stay the same as long as the environment stays the same. When the environment changes, your genetics change. That's not hard to understand. The problem is people skipped the thing that senses the environment, which is the mitochondria, not the nuclear genome.
And this brings me to like all the I'm aging, I'm getting older, all that kind of talk. When I often speak with some people in a gym and they're like, oh, I'm just getting older. I'm like, dude, I know you started to run 3 businesses. You're rarely outside. You got your kids to look after, this, and that. I'm like, how is your life now compared to when you were 16? And they go like, oh yeah, nowhere near. I'm like, that's why you feel like you're aging, because you're literally not doing anything to keep yourself young.
Yeah, and I used to think that was kind of hyperbole, right? Like, yeah, obviously we're aging, and so that's going to have a factor. But until I met people that live outside all the time, right? Like we were just talking before on this, right? I went to El Salvador to fix some mitochondrial issues for me and my family because of living next to a cell phone tower, and we spent 2 months there. And while we were there, you know, I went shopping for property and stuff like that, and a guide that was showing me a raw piece of jungle out in the middle of nowhere, right? Met with me that morning and goes, "Hey, we're going to hike this area. I'm going to show you this whole, 4 square miles of property that I'm going to show you." I'm like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "I hope you brought your boots because there's no roads. We're just going to walk." I'm like, "Okay." So we walked all day long. We walked for 4.5 hours, right? Up and down mountains all over the place. It was like a 5-mile hike in pretty rough terrain. We got done. I was pretty beat. And, we didn't have food, we just had water. And the guy goes, "You did pretty good today." And I'm like, "Yeah, you did pretty damn good too." I'm like, "How old are you?" He goes, "I'm 76 years old." I'm like, "You are not 76 years old." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm 76 years old." He didn't look like he was maybe 50, maybe 50, 76 years old. He showed me his driver's license and everything. Like I didn't believe him, literally. I just was like, "There's no way you're 70. You're gonna have to show me your driver's license." And he goes, "Yeah, here, this is it." And yeah, 76 years old. He's like, "I plan on living at least to 110. My granddad lived to be 115. The person before him lived to be 112. Again, this is in a third world country. They don't have really a count. Like everybody's talking about, oh, the longest lived person is 118 or whatever. I'm like, I guarantee you there's people that have lived longer than that that just didn't give a crap about going to medical centers or anything like that. Way longer people. And then I asked him the next question. I'm like, do a lot of people your age, are they alive or dying? He's like, "Oh no, he's like, yeah, pretty much all the people that I grew up with, I still know, and they still are active, and they're all my age or older." I'm like, that's interesting. I'm like, "What do you do for work?" He's like, "This, I work outside all day long, all day long." Every single one of the people that I know work outside all day long. And in that country, everything's kind of constructed outside in nature, right? Like their sleeping quarters are indoors, but their cooking, their activities, their kitchen, their living rooms, those are all outside. They're all open to the air. They're outside all the time, literally. The only time they go inside is to sleep. So yeah, they are not joking when they say they just do what they've done for hundreds of years. But when I say, hey, your environment changes how you age, your environment changes how sick you are, how resilient you are, the motivation you have, I'm not joking. It literally does all of those changes at the electronic level, right? Because that's what your environment is. It's vibrations and electronics is essentially what it comes down to, not chemicals, not supplements, right? If I would have told this guy, oh, have you gotten your testosterone tested? I guarantee you he would have told me, no, I've never gotten my fucking testosterone tested. He probably didn't even know that
Probably
that
have
was a
other
thing you could
questions to
test.
follow up, like to understand if he's got good levels or not. But disregarding all that, so we're going back to genetic testing. Is this a useful tool that we can incorporate? If it is, or if it isn't, what can we extract out of the results we see for somebody who can't go and change their habits? You know,
So
can they do they go for the supplement and do it for the rest of the year, or do they take the supplement only at a certain time of the year, which you described earlier? Maybe there is things that they can buy to mitigate something like low vitamin D, mitochondrial energy in their liver and things like that. So what can they do with these results, and can those results change in a year, 2, 3, or 10 times? How long would it take to see different results from genetic testing, if any at all?
Yeah, so let's answer the genetic testing thing. If it's nuclear DNA testing, it's worthless because you're looking at the blueprints. You're not looking at the thing that changes the blueprints. But they do offer, they are more expensive. That's why people don't get them. Is something called mitochondrial DNA testing.
You broke up a
So
little bit. What's it
that's
called?
mitochondrial DNA testing. MT, so mtDNA. That is the abbreviation for mitochondrial DNA testing. If you get some mitochondrial DNA testing, that can be valuable because that can literally tell you immediately if the environment that you're currently living in is not able to be conducive for health. And the way that I say that is, hopefully I can find a slide here on mitochondrial DNA as far as, well, either way, it doesn't really matter because it's only a visual to speak to. But here's the thing. Let's hypothetically say that you have, because the way that they have categorized mitochondrial DNA is as follows. L DNA, so L0, L1, L2, they're described by letters, okay? That means closer to the equator. That means your mitochondria are evolved to be adapted to a highly sunlight environment. And then as you go up, the highest latitudes are like X and Y and H. Those are uncoupled mitochondrial haplotypes. Those are coupled to being able to function somewhere where it gets cold for half of the year. If you have an N or L haplotype and you're living in Canada, I have bad news for you. You will only get worse. I don't care how many supplements you take. You will only get worse. On the
Can
flip
you
side, if you
bypass
have an
that
H
by
haplotype,
having multiple holidays?
you can. That's what I'm saying. Like at that point, instead of spending a bunch of money on more testing and more supplements and more of that, what you do is you construct your home to be as mitochondrial friendly as possible in Canada. And then you find yourself a second home that you spend, again, the winter months of Canada. I would say if you can afford it, all of them, all winter months of Canada, living somewhere else. But if you can't afford it, at least 2 to 3 months periodically through the winter months, right? Say it's 6 months of winter. I would say 50% of that time should be spent somewhere else. If you have an L haplotype or N haplotype, the ones that are closer to the equator. Because if you're living in Canada and your mitochondrial haplotype is coupled, tightly coupled, You cannot fix that with supplements. You're not ever going to be able to change that with supplements. I don't care what anybody tells you. You're only going to get worse the more time you permanently spend in Canada. On the flip side, if you have an H haplotype, an uncoupled haplotype, like you, I know that you will have an uncoupled haplotype. That actually gives you more flexibility to be in more places on the planet. In fact, it gives you some superhuman powers when you go to an equatorial environment, because your haplotype has been designed to extract energy from two things: cold and sunlight. And sunlight's the one that's the easiest to extract energy from.
I'm
So
like
when
one of
you go,
those bunnies when you send me to Colombia.
the Energizer Bunny, yeah.
I don't need any food. I can go all day.
You will strangely find that with uncoupled haplotypes, when they go to an equatorial environment, that's the first thing that everybody says. Man, I can eat like in the morning once, and I don't even get hungry until it's dark. Like like that's not ever happened to me ever before. And for you, that's rare. That you probably have never experienced that, where you're not hungry during the day, and you have plenty of energy. So yeah, that is a key phenomenon. So your mitochondrial haplotype is a very, very, very good thing to know if you can get that tested, because that gives you solid information on what environments will be not good for you and what environments will be good for you. And if you truly understand that, you stop wasting money on supplements and medications. You start spending money on locations.
Right.
Yeah. And then on the same side of that, knowing that, right? So once you've gone there, then you can come up with a better game plan of how exactly are we going to assess and reassess whether we fix the genetic signaling, right? Because, for example, let's just say, let's just use the L haplotype, right, which is an equatorial haplotype, and they live in Canada. Let's just hypothetically say that, right? Then the thing is, okay, during the summer, you live in Canada, you spend all summer in Canada, you're going to get freaking 18 hours of daylight. You're going to get a lot of sun, right, in the summer in Canada. So that means that if you're interacting with the outside environment and spending a lot of time outside, your blood tests and things of that nature should come back stellar. They should come back perfect. And if that's true, then you reassess of, okay, you're not going to take any supplements. You're going to do this relocation thing temporarily back and forth. Your panel, your hormone panel, your neurotransmitter panel, whatever it is that you're going to retest, should stay the same. It should stay the same. It's very easy to tell that. And mentally, you should perform well. And physically, you should continue to perform well. And then you could retry it. Hey, the next winter, let's not go anywhere. Let's stay the winter in Canada. I guarantee that changes quick. The part of your question there was, how fast will it change? Within 2 months, within 2 or 3 months, it will change. You will start experiencing, you'll be able to pick it up in places on blood tests like your DHEA, your vitamin D. You'll be able to pick it up on neurotransmitter tests like dopamine production and dopamine metabolites, melatonin. You'll be able to pick it up on a Dutch test with melatonin cycling and stuff like that, and how the morning urinary melatonin releases and stuff like that, because it will start changing those. And those are direct products of mitochondrial functioning well or not. You'll be able to pick that up right away, and it will change within 2 or 3 months. Now, on the flip side, say you do already have a problem going on, right? And you go, okay, I want to change my environment to see if that actually helps and stop taking all these supplements. It will take about 2 to 3 months. 2 to 3 months for most people that don't have a really complex problem like Parkinson's, right? Like if you have Parkinson's, that's not going to get fixed in 2 or 3 months, right? Diabetes, you're not going to fix diabetes in 2 or 3 months, but you will start seeing improvements in certain markers that you could be testing, and that gives you more leeway. Now, if you just have, I don't know, like this person, right, that has zero testosterone, really low thyroid, et cetera, et cetera, I expect changes to happen over the summer. Basically, the moment because I'm going to get her changing those lifestyle habits. By the time April comes, the sun's back around, and I'm going to basically, her check-ins aren't going to be like, did you eat the right calories? No, her check-ins are going to be, did you get the right hours outside, right? Did you get the right hours outside? week after week after week after week. And once I verify that, that usually is going to be about, for most people trying to fix something like that, right? Very low thyroid, very low testosterone, almost zero, very low DHEA. Somebody like that is going to need about 3 to 4 hours per day of outside time. And in about 8 weeks, you're going to see changes. You're going to see pretty dramatic changes. Now, that's quite a bit of time outside, right? We're talking 3 to 4 hours every day, but that's not really that much, right? Like if you think about it, a construction worker spends 12, 16 hours outside every day, where I'm asking this person to change 3 hours of her day, right? At different points in time of the day, 3 to 4 hours every day without fail, get outside in strong sunlight. Do that for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, something like that. We should be able to retest and really see, hey, did we make headway? There's going to be certain parts of those systems, right? The sex hormone system, the thyroid system, the vitamin D system. There's different systems there that we can check. Hey, which one is still broken? Which one has started to get fixed? If this one has started to fix itself, then we know, okay, that one's intact. That whole leg, that whole system is good. You don't need to take this supplement anymore. Let's take that off the table. You're not even taking it anyway, but we don't have to do it again, right? That is a real reassessment of, did you actually fix the thing or not, right? And that's actually what I wanted to convey to everybody, especially with New Year's resolutions and all this stuff. Do not get sucked into just keep taking supplements until you end up with 17 of them, plus a couple medications, and you're healthy. No, you're not. You're not healthy. You're just band-aiding everything that you come across. You're not fixing yourself. You're just putting something in there that momentarily plugs that hole, and that's it.
And that's kind of always been our goal from beginning when we started making these, that how to make you better without abusing your body, because you can do that just by
Absolutely. I'm glad you said it that way.
Actually happening,
that you said
and
that.
get you going to what you're supposed to feel like.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. The more supplements that you take, the more medications you take, you are abusing your body. Don't get me wrong. I take drugs, I take PEDs, I take supplements, I take them in a meaning that I am elevating my risk, which is why I concentrate so much on my lifestyle to minimize other risks.
But yeah, I'm gonna let you off. I'm mindful of your time. This has been really good, and next time we might dig deeper, maybe in something we discussed here already. Thanks for your time, David, and speak to you soon.
Thank you.